Tarik from capital.com today with us talking about the power of podcasting. Hi, Tarik. How are you today?
Good, and you?
Very well, thank you. Very energized by the conversations here. How is your podcast going?
Podcast is still going. We've been going for a good 2 years, and we try and do weekly, and it's going all right.
So, in terms of capital.com, are you doing any podcasts around that? Do you have any resource within your marketing team that is doing some podcasting job?
Yeah, we do. We're not creating our own show yet. There are some thoughts of how we could position it and what we should be talking about. But at the moment, we started with advertising on podcasts across multiple different channels in Arabic, in English. And it's really interesting to us because there's a whole new audience that you can really micro-target on podcasts. Very powerful platforms out there, like Next Broadcast Media, and their ad manager. And that's to an advertiser, that's all you need. You need good data to be able to make decisions on who you're targeting and how you're getting to your right kind of target audience.
It's interesting to hear this from the executive of the company, because there are a lot of objection or probably lack of awareness. Maybe if you can shed some light into why capital.com decided to look into podcasting as a platform for advertising, for promoting your brand.
Well, first, you should always look at new channels and try out many different ways to try and get in front of your audience. Yeah. And podcasting in this region and globally, really, since COVID has taken off. I mean, in the sessions, I saw that it has doubled since 2019. It's more than 500 million listeners now, right? So you look at those numbers, and I'm a podcast host and a consumer myself. So instead of listening to the radio on the way to work, a lot of people now listen to podcasts, right? And here in Dubai, we drive half an hour to work, half an hour back. That's an hour a day. And you probably consume 4 or 5 different ads within your podcast stream. And, when you look at the hosts that you trust with your time and you listen to every single week, if they're promoting a brand, then there's something there. And I'm much more willing to check out the brand if I listen to it. It's the same as a refer a friend kind of scheme, right? If your friend is telling you about a brand that they really love, you're much more likely to engage with that brand. And it's maybe not as strong with a podcast host because you don't know them directly, but it is maybe as close to not knowing someone but still trusting them and checking out brands that are out there.
I've come across some stats that show that the advertisings that are run through a podcasting are likely not to be skipped, which means people are engaging. And maybe you can share your point of view. Why? Why do you think it happens?
Well, first of all, everyone knows that ads are just part of the game. And it's strange, like if you're listening to a podcast, it's usually in the background or you're driving or something, and you wouldn't sit there and just so automatically there's some friction in it, and so you just listen to it, right? And at the same time, there's some kind of cliffhanger, and then they play the ad, right? So you want to continue listening to what the point was that the host was talking about. And as I said, like you just automatically trust the host to deliver a message or deliver an ad, because no one wants to tarnish their brand, right? From a host perspective, I would never allow a brand to come onto my show that I haven't vetted before and I don't back, right? Because, okay, you're getting paid to do this, but you do this once or twice in the wrong way, and then the listeners will go because they don't trust you anymore.
So it's there's a lot less opportunity to make it in a controlled, let's say, or commercial way, right? Maybe that's the message that I'm trying to capture, that, say, the traditional media is probably something that basically does it in a very controlled way, but with podcasting, you have an opportunity to make it in a flexible, organic, and a less controlled way, which means more authentic, right?
Yeah, if you look at the opportunities now, how specific you can target your messages to actually the listener and make it very relevant for them, then it's a lot less likelihood of them skipping as well. And, TV and other kind of channels are very mass. Here, when you're talking about podcasts, there's a lot of podcasts that are very, very niche, right? So if you do spend the time to create and craft proper messages, you should be able to direct a very targeted message to the listener, which should resonate and should make someone check you out.
Definitely. So do you think the fact that you are a podcast consumer and also you are hosting your own show, do you think that particular mindset allowed you to look at podcasting as a channel for promoting Capital.com as a brand?
Yeah, I mean, I've played around with this for now 2 years, right? I've seen podcasts grow and grow and grow, and I've been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
And the people that are really successful here, they have very, very strong brands because you can use podcasts. It's not just about the listenership, the amount of numbers that you're getting, right? But it's the people that are listening to the show. If you know a show and you know the host and you know what his audience is like because you're listening to it yourself or your friends are listening to it, it's not necessarily always about the numbers of the show, but the type of people that you're getting access to, because there's, it's like a walled garden. It's not easy to get through to these people. So it's a premium source that you have that you can then utilize to get to a very targeted niche audience. That's amazing from any advertiser's perspective because you have a lot less wastage in terms of money that you're spending. You're a lot more targeted.
Yeah. How do you think this whole ecosystem of, media buyers, PR experts, marketing experts, company executives, how should creators as well, how should this ecosystem evolve, change in terms of the mindset to be able to strengthen podcasting as a platform for, a lot more promotion, a lot more marketing, a lot more advertising? Yeah,
I think, I can only tell you my story and how I started. Yes. I tried it out. 3 months, I put a budget for a quarter. It was a small budget. I tried out a couple of different things. I tried out everything from funding a specific episode with a great host, and that's very difficult because you need to find the talent that can actually deliver a message in a natural way, to sponsoring some of the biggest shows in the region, to doing specific short ads in random podcasts. So tried out all sorts of different things, and from each experience you learn, and then you decide what works for you as a brand, what doesn't work, what do you want to repeat, where do you want to double down. But if you're not even open to trying out these different tests, then you're never going to learn and you're always going to be apprehensive, right? So as executives and as marketeers, people just need to continue conducting tests and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And podcast is just another or an extension of what used to be radio and what used to be television. It's similar to there was radio, and then there's podcasts, and there was TV, and now there's Netflix, right? So you just have to go with the time, and it's not just young people listening to it. I think you have the whole spectrum, just like TikTok is not kids dancing anymore, and there's a lot of infotainment on there.
For sure. No, I think it's also the company culture and the way probably, let's say, the head of marketing, the head of PR is encouraged to try new things. I think that's very important as well.
Yes.
What are the forms of podcasting you enjoy personally?
That's a good
long,
question.
short. So what do you consume as a consumer?
Yeah, I've gone... So my show is 30 minutes long, and that's quite a bit to ask someone if they have never listened to you before. So we cut it down into smaller pieces and try and hook them and bring them in. But personally, I now listen to shows that are an hour long, some even 2 or 3 hours long. The Knowledge Project, Founders, Stephen Bartlett, Lulu. There's a bunch of different people globally that I listen to where there's been enough trust built that I say anyone that they are getting onto their show is worth listening to, right? And as a podcaster, that's the ultimate dream. If you have got the trust of the listener and they just tune in every single week, right? But yeah, I enjoyed a really long forward kind of in-depth discussion about a specific topic or learning about someone that has done something amazing. It's very similar to reading a book, right? You read a book and the author has got 30, 40 years experience and putting this into 100, 150 pages, and you get it for $10 and he has worked a year on it and you're reading it in a couple of hours. Podcast is the same thing, right? There can be very, very specific knowledge that it's very difficult to acquire otherwise if you're not listening to that show. So if it's well produced and you've had a good experience a number of times, you're much more likely to come back and listen to more of them.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what if you list, like, what are the attributes of a successful podcast for you?
I mean, audio and video production needs to be really, really good. And if that isn't the case, then, I'm apprehensive. I'm not saying that people should spend a lot of money, but at least, have a good mic and have the audio quality good when someone are driving, or if I'm consuming it on YouTube or whatever, let it be a nice kind of experience. That's one thing. And then it's really the quality of the content, which is paramount and dictates whether you're going to be successful or not. If you're just picking up a mic and talking without planning or having great guests on the show, it's going to be very difficult for you to cut through the noise that is out there. There are now a lot of podcasts out there, right? But if you keep showing up with good kind of content, I think a lot more people will listen to you.
Yeah, that's interesting. And if we talk about some predictions, I know it's probably difficult to predict anything, but what do you think? What do you anticipate is going to happen with podcasting? Brands, podcasting, Dubai specifically, if we localize this.
Yeah, from a listenership, people will consume more and more content. Even in my own case, driving, in the gym, on a walk, in between calls, all sorts of different times of the day is when I start consuming content, right? So I consume a lot more content now than I used to a couple of years ago, or it's just shifted from listening to music or watching TV or whatever into kind of podcasting. So I think there's going to be an increase in amount of hours that people on a weekly basis listen to podcasts, which then gives advertisers and brands a chance to get in front of people even more and even better. And for the region, I think we're still early. I mean, we're further ahead than other people in terms of listenership, and there's more people open to it. There's a whole Arabic segment, but I think also the English segment, there's a lot of people listening. But at the same time, we're still early, and there's still a lot more people that will join and will enjoy podcasts just like we all are.
Yeah, I agree with you. And thank you very much for your insights. Always great talking to you, and always great to hear from the company executive who are very much involved into media in a good way, like developing your own personal brand and also having so much insights about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.